everybody, Happy New Year. I'm Mariana and this is 3 Peaks Classroom. I hope you all had a restful and very deserving break, and I hope you're ready to tackle the rest of the school year. So it's the start of a new year, and I decided to kick things off with a whole series devoted to guided reading. Recently on Instagram, I did a poll asking if many of you guys have started doing guided reading in your classrooms, and not surprisingly, a lot of you guys have either voted no, not yet, or you're too nervous to start. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in today's video. Is it's never too late to start guided reading. And in the video today, I'm actually going to talk about how I was too nervous to start guided reading in my very first year of teaching grade 3 that I actually didn't even do it at all. So over the month of January, I'm going to be talking all about guided reading, and I have lots of things I want to show you guys, I have some cheat sheets or some materials I want to show you, and I'm going to break the series up into 3 parts. Today's video is going to be about how to get over your nerves of just starting to do guided reading. It can be quite a daunting idea to start guided reading in your classroom. So today's video, I'm going to share all about that, my experiences, how I was too nervous to start guided reading. Episode 2 in the series is going to be about how to do a great guided reading session. I'll talk about the materials that you might want to have on hand, how to prep for a guided reading session, how to pick a strategy, how to pick your students, and then how to run a guided reading session. Like, what do you do in the beginning? What do you do in the middle? What do you do at the end? And then how do you know when it's time to switch things up? And then finally, episode 3 in the series is going to be all about knowing which goal to pick for your students and strategies that you can choose from. I'm actually going to gift you a concrete list of strategies that you can choose from to teach your students if you're noticing that they are struggling in a certain area. So in that 3rd episode, I'm going to go over my concrete list, but if you want to grab it right away, just so you have it on hand, this is what the concrete list looks like. So there's a colored version and a black and white version, and there's 4 pages. So beginning decoding strategies, and then just regular decoding strategies, beginning comprehension strategies, and then just comprehension strategies in general. If you want to grab yourself a free copy, you can just head over to my website at www.3peaksclassroom.com/guided reading. And there you'll just enter in your email address. It'll ask you to confirm your email address, and then you'll just have this free download waiting for you in your email. If you haven't already subscribed, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the videos that I have out coming in this series or in the future as well. Let's dive right in. Don't let the idea of guided reading scare you like it did for me in my very first year of teaching grade 3. I was so terrified of not doing it correctly, or having somebody come in and notice what I was doing and that's not right. I was so nervous about doing that I actually avoided doing guided reading at all for the entire year. And instead, I planned to meet with each of my students individually all year long. The thought of guided reading, the small groups, having everything organized, ready to go, the classroom management behind it, it just all seemed so daunting to me. And maybe that's how you feel right now too, and that's okay. I was so nervous asking for help because I felt like they drill it into you in university. This is such a vital part of every, grade 3 classroom or grade 4 classroom, that guided reading is so important. How could I not know what to do? So I'm here to tell you that if you have these feelings, you are not alone. Instead of asking for help, I ended up making my life harder by planning to meet with each individual student of mine individually. I would keep students in from recess, or I would pull them aside during other subjects just so I can meet with every single one of my students in time for report cards or parent-teacher interviews. It was a hot mess, and I do not recommend that you do that. At the very heart of guided reading, you just have to remember this. You are meeting students at their level and scaffolding good reading habits to help them progress. In short, you are noticing what the kids are doing, what they're doing well, what they're struggling with, and you're grouping students that have similar struggles together to make your life easier and to work together. I am here to tell you, do not be afraid to start. Right now I'm filming this in January, but if you're watching this in April or May, go ahead, start guided reading. It's better late than never, I promise. So if you're feeling nervous like I did, here are a few tips for you to just get started. The simplest form of guided reading can be done with 2 kids and 1 book. That's all you need. No fancy materials, no lesson plans, no strategy cheat sheets. Just grab 2 kids that you know could help from focused, targeted practice, grab 1 book, and sit with them. Have them each read a page or a sentence, depending on what you're working on or what you want them to focus on, and alternate. And then at the very end, prompt them with a question or two. Can you point to a word that has an A in it? Can you tell me what the character was thinking? Or how do you know that the character was speaking? Those kinds of prompts. It just requires 2 kids, 1 book, and the teacher. Another tip is to just plan for a very short meeting. It does not have to be a 30-minute session. It's actually quite hard to do a guided reading session for 30 minutes because that's a lot of time that you have to plan. 10 minutes can be a lot if you have not done any guided reading at all. And that's it. That's literally all you need, all the tips that you need to just get going, get started. Once you've started meeting with a couple of kids and a book here and there throughout the week, you can officially say, hey, I'm doing guided reading in my classroom. Now, once you get confident doing the meeting with the 2 kids and the 1 book regularly, that's when you can begin to be a little bit more intentional with who you are grabbing, who you are sitting with, what strategies do you want to focus. Maybe you have some materials that you need with them. Then you can be a little bit more intentional once you have that confidence. Then you can begin to start creating your guided reading groups. How do you create a good guided reading group? Well, virtually you have 2 kinds of groups, generally from my experience. You have the group of kids where you want to work on decoding with them, and then you have a group of kids where you want to kind of work on the comprehension and visualizing and predicting, all of that, those kinds of, reading strategies, the upper reading strategies. So you kind of have those 2 separate groups. Not that they can't benefit from each other, like, a decoding group can definitely work on comprehension questions, but I find that kids that are decoding, they need to focus on that first, of course, before they can start diving into comprehension. So your decoding group, they're going to be working on skills like phonemic awareness or playing around with word families, blending, working on digraphs, accuracy, things like that. And your comprehension group, you're going to be working towards on understanding, author's purpose or summarizing a text, retelling a text. Can you read it more fluently? Can you read it with expression? Those kinds of things. So typically I find in my classroom, I was always planning for those 2 kinds of groups. We're going to get into more detail about these groups and strategies in episode 3 of this series. And that's where I'm going to go into detail about like my guided reading strategies and my cheat sheet. Again, if you want to grab it, it's 3peaksclassroom.com/guided reading. So I'm going to go into a lot more detail about that and like how I organize my groups based on strategies in episode 3. So let me know in the comments below if you have already started guided reading, or if you were like me and you were way too nervous to start. Just let me know. I'd like to know where you are all at in your guided reading journey. Is this your first year teaching? Are you a veteran teacher and you're still nervous to start, and that's okay? Just let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. In the next episode, I want to talk to you about how to actually do a guided reading session. Again, we're not going to overthink it. We're going to keep it simple, but I'm going to show you, what does a great guided reading session look like? How can you plan for it? What are some materials that are awesome to have on hand? Some resources that I use myself personally. You can kind of tell. I'll go over all of that in the next episode. So don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss another episode, and I will catch you guys all in the next video. Bye.